It's probably very challenging to come and make the time. Jazakallah khair. And it's an honor. Thank you for Fatima Islamic Society, the community, and the organizers for having me, inshallah. I was able to share what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what the teaching of the Rasulullah in the Quran, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, was truly my intention to share their guidance with them. And if there's any imperfection, any mistake, may Allah forgive me for that. And inshallah, Allah give all of us the tawfiq and the ability to practice the knowledge that we acquire, inshallah. I said that we're going to try to answer some of the questions that is left from yesterday. That's still the plan, inshallah.
For 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that I think you heard enough of me for the past 11 nights, and also today some of you were at Bishta Zahar as well. So I'm going to, inshallah, start with in order of the question. I think I answered that question. This one I think is not from a worried mom or mama about a healthy man. I think I talked about that one, yeah. So I'm going to go to the next question. Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family says years 1 to 7 are years of play. When you say harsh discipline, what does that entail? Should I not teach them routine, manners, etc.? The answer is of harsh is I'm not sure if I used the word harsh, but I meant that to be too strict on them is not a good idea because they're not at the age. I think I give example that the teachings of Ahlul Bayt is that this is the time the learning method is playing, and biologically also the frontal lobe of the brain, the decision making, the reasoning is not developed yet. So when you try to tell them why you don't understand, because they don't. So you cannot really do discipline. In that same discipline, you make a case that this is the reason, this is the purpose. So what you have to do, you can do routine with children. For routine means that if you take your child, especially I'm talking about first 2-3 years of their lives, of course after the first couple of months of infancy, you take them to bed at a certain time and you keep it consistent, that's become the routine. You don't need to tell them, you know what, we're going to go to bed, we're going to sleep at this time, it's good for you. No, it's 9 o'clock, bed, the lights are off, they associate that with sleep, and that's how it is. They're going to, depending on their day and what they ate, they're going to go through phases, and one night they may need more stories. The other day they've been at park running around or at masjid, they're tired, before you say a word they're gone. So I would say that what I mean by discipline is do not go strict discipline, that this is it. Another one is that obviously is always a no-no, regardless of the age, is any kind of discipline with anger. Because you are frustrated with them, and again, as adults, we get frustrated why they don't understand. Right? Imagine a 3-year-old, 4-year-old screaming her lungs out. And you're saying, you know what, I'm trying to help you. What is it? And they just keep crying. They're fussy. Is that you get frustrated. I've seen, especially with mothers, sometimes mother cries with the child. I've seen it in trips and ziyarah trips. And it's not funny because it's very heartbreaking to see a mother going through that emotion. But the point is that that child does not understand either what's going on. So the best you can do is that you need to stay calm. You cannot discipline with anger. But a lot of mistakes happens when I get angry and I start screaming and shouting. And I think that's discipline. So what I mean by harsh discipline is, number one, too strict and expecting them to be reasonable at that age. Number two is to discipline with anger. And number three is that you try to use force, God forbid, in any way. For example, we have that you hit the child and all that. Obviously, these are all issues that we have to be careful. There are even, depending on the severity of it, there could be even a diya, which is a blood money, involved with the strike of a child. So, but we don't want to get to the legality and the technicality of it. That's what I mean. But you should teach the routine, of course. But you know when the routine ruins, you ruin the routine, is that one night you're not busy and you don't have guests over, you want routine. We're sleeping at this time. The other night people are over, it's a vibrant night, everybody is talking, and you want the child to follow the routine. It doesn't work. They see the distraction, they see that lights are on, the sound is there. So you can't blame the child because you're changing it. So if the change happened, you have to be flexible. That's okay. It's Muharram, you bring them to the masjid, some special night, they stay longer, that's okay. It's going to be a bit of an interesting night and morning for you. That's how it is. Don't expect, a different outcome. So teaching them manners, 1 to 7, best way to teach them manners, have manners. That's it. What do we mean by teaching them manners? We keep saying, say salam, that's okay. Say hello, say salam, all of that. But manners, like for example, how to talk to the mom, talk to the dad, how to share these things, you'd say, but ultimately a lot of it is about you setting a good example. When you say Bismillah, your children say Bismillah. You know why? My daughter, I don't like to use her as an example, but is a bit funny, and that's what I want to share. I drink a lot of chai. My wife, my family would drink chai, even in the middle of the 90-degree. I think all of us were in the same boat together, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. We drink chai. Okay, I don't want to just include it. My daughter wants chai. So now we need to mix the chai with water. Okay, chai. So that's how children are. Whatever you do, they want, even chai. If you want them to eat fruits, eat fruits. If you want them to eat vegetables, eat vegetables. The worst thing is that daddy or mommy is going to have this beautiful biryani, but you have your vegetable. So, inshallah is enough. I think the best, one more thing about 1 to 7, is not much about what you do, is how you protect it from 1 to 7. So we're too worried about, okay, we should do this, we should teach them this, we have to tell them this. But more importantly, 1 to 7 is to make sure that their surrounding, their environment, what they watch, what they listen to, what they're exposed to is filtered. You don't want to just, turn on Coco Melon 24/7 and let them just go. Okay? And I'm not saying, realistically, you want them, sometimes again, you're busy, you want them to be entertained, I get it. You play something, that's fine, but filter. Not a random video that they like. If you leave children, they watch all kinds of things. And for the sake of God, please do not leave your children alone with YouTube. Even YouTube Kids. If you're really worried, pay and download. If you really want, and again, you cannot have both, comfort and the ease of your child when you want them to be entertained and distracted, and at the same time not to pay for it. So pay for it. Because the moment ads comes up and there's lack of control, it's not something, it's a risk that we take. It's a very big risk. Something is called kids, it does not make it kids friendly. These corporations, they don't care. Okay. Since our Imam alayhi salam is over 1,000 years old, when he comes back, is he going to look how old he is, or is he going to come back in a younger form? If so, how old? The answer is he will be that age that he is, but his basically the way Allah preserved his health is in a way that he will be able to still fulfill all the mission that Allah gave him, including to be able to be an army leader, a commander. He has commanders under him. And the answer to that is, imagine Nuh alayhi salam. And whenever you say, well, how is that possible? Nuh alayhi salam, according to Quran, was a prophet of God for 950 years. That's his prophethood. And during that time, he built an ark. So I don't know if you've seen, a 100-year-old, how they can do anything. So yes, he was hundreds of years old, Nuh alayhi salam, was able still to fulfill the mission of Allah, which was building the ark. So our Imam, when he returned, the same Allah intended to give that ability to his prophets, to the last hujjah, the last proof of Allah. Allah will preserve his health to the level that he will not be frail, he will not be weak, he will not be something that we usually associate with old age, because he has a lot to do. And Allah will protect that. Okay? What should a parent do if their child isn't making the right choices? Can a parent's dua help cause change when the child is unwilling? Per first speech change. Okay. The short answer is that we believe dua make an impact, but dua does not replace free will. Prayers and dua, it helps people in the sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through dua, we can say empowers people, help them, support them, but if they don't want it, that's on them. And I know it's very difficult because free will is the one that everyone has. لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي. There's no compulsion in faith, meaning you cannot force someone to believe. And Allah said we explain the difference between the righteousness, piety, and corruption and decay. So what a parent can do, I would say dua is one thing that you can do. And that's what Ibrahim alayhi salam did. That's what many prophets of God have done. Rabbi habli min ladunka dhurriyatan tayyiba. Ya Allah, make my descendants and children to be righteous and pious. That's the dua of many believers in the Quran, right? From Zakaria alayhi salam to Ibrahim alayhi salam, they made dua. So dua is always there. But what can you do for them? You consult them, you advise them, and then you help them to make decisions and let them know that it's on them. Not that you can make a decision for them forever. Especially, again, when you say children, I assume you're referring to the older children, the youth. At this point, you have to just be there for them in order to remind them that now they're an adult or they grew up. And all you can do is just remind them of what to keep in mind. But put the burden on them that this is yours. This is your life. This is your marriage. This is your future. And hopefully you've done enough that they learned what does that mean. Guilt tripping is not going to work forever. Right? The idea that, if you don't do this, you know what, you break my heart and I will not be able to live. Like things, the guilt trip is not something you want to use because it may work for a while. What it does is it makes people either to postpone their decision or to start hiding it. That's most of the cases. Okay? So I would say the best thing to do is as they grow up, you will be more of an advisor. That's what you can do, advisory role. You advise them and then you teach them that, okay, this is your life and you have to learn consequences. Every decision you make, you have to live with that. But what sometimes some parents do is that making it about themselves. When a child is making a mistake, you know what would you do with our abiru, our reputation? You know your mistake, what it will do to me. It's become all about me. And the truth is, I'm worried about them. But the way we communicate, it comes off as selfish. So reminding them that, okay, you know, if you make decision, what does that mean? Yes, this person, let's say, especially for girls, if you want to advise them, remember, if you like it or not, we're not living in a perfect, ideal world. You have more to lose in relationships. So be more careful, be more cautious. That's the way you approach it. It's your life, you make decisions, but keep that in mind. When you're talking to boys, same thing. I'm not going to be there forever. You're growing up, you're becoming a man. You have to start standing on your own feet. I'm here to help you. But ultimately, it's your decision. If you want to make that decision, fine. But you have to know the consequences for that. Sometimes the best thing to do is not to give him unlimited credit line. Don't give that. Yes, good to be supportive of your children, but sometimes do not help them to make a big mistake. Let's say if you know and you see that they're making a decision that is a bad decision, relationship-wise, and you see all the red flags, but they're blinded by emotions. You tell them, okay, I'm your mother, I'm your dad, I'm your family. These are the red flags. But this is your decision. Just make sure if you want to make that decision, understand what does that entail. But at the same time, don't enable it, okay, let's hide it from your dad. Let's not tell your dad anything. No, this is your decision. You want to be a grown-up? It means that your dad or I'm not going to be okay with it, but that's your decision. You have to face. You cannot have everything. Okay, you can then make that decision, but we will not be in favor of that decision, and that's okay. You don't need to always suppress your opinion as a parent. Oh, we love you no matter what. Okay, we love you, but it doesn't mean I support every decision. That's your decision. I'm not supporting it, but it's your decision. That way you tell them that the same way they make decision without caring about your emotions, sometimes you have a stand that you cannot, because of their emotions, ignore it. The next question is about we always do our due diligence regarding finding zabiha halal food. How much research should we do before feeling satisfied with our decision? The answer is called personal certainty. The research is that when it comes to a level that you're personally certain this is halal, that's sufficient. How you get there is up to you. Example, when it comes to zabiha, there's two possibilities. One is that you're in a Muslim market or you're in a Muslim shop. You're in a Muslim house. In that case, you don't need verification. If you go to a Muslim's house, the default is it is halal. You don't need to ask a Muslim, is your food halal? Imagine that today at Bishta Zama, somebody said, is this meat halal? No. When I come to Fatima Society, they serve me food, it is halal. Unless it's proven otherwise. Unless there is evidence that is not, then of course I follow my certainty, right? I go to a Muslim's house, I assume it's halal, but they say, you know what, I just bought this from this place. They say, yeah, I don't really care about halal and haram, I like okay, that's a different story. Now you're 100%, they are telling you it's not halal, then you have to act accordingly. So, thank you for letting me know. I have this dietary restriction. I don't eat this. Well, I will be happy, to enjoy the, yogurt or some other option that they have. That's Muslim. So if you go to a halal shop that Muslims are owning it, and I'm talking about Sunni Muslim as well, it's halal. That's it. Even if the one who works there is not Muslim, but the shop is owned by Muslims, and you have certainty of that, that's okay. You can just trust that it's own Muslim-owned business. But if you go to a place that is owned by non-Muslim, then you have to do verification. You have to make sure. For example, you go to Costco, you go to some other shop, and they have halal meat, and there's a stamp that says halal. Does only a stamp give you personal certainty? The answer is not really. Right? There's a stamp. But what does it mean? Because the definition of that stamp could be all over the place. So what do? You make sure to verify this brand And you can either look up online, there are ways that you can verify, or you talk to someone and say, oh, this brand, I research, it is from this place, right? It is, for example, hand slaughtered, it is owned by a Muslim. Then when you see that brand, you're certain this brand is halal, because you did personal certainty. But that's up to you. How you get to personal certainty, online research, calling them, asking others, somehow you come to that knowledge that this is trustable and halal, then you do it. We know some parts of life are preordained by Allah. We create you in pain, when, how we die. What's the relationship between fate and agency, free will, in Islam? I think I explained it that there are certain matters that we have no say in them. And with that, we are Muslim, means we submit, we surrender. Our creation is not our choice. Mortality is not a choice. The type of family I was born into, these are things, a lot of genetics, biology, there's not things I control. I'm a man, I'm a woman. These are things that I did not choose that. The moment we come to anything else that is in regard of choices that I make, that's where the agency or the free will comes in. And that comes when people know the difference between right and wrong. That's the free will. If somebody doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, there is no accountability for them. That's why very, very young children who don't know the right and wrong, they're not obliged to. For example, if a child is eating something that is haram, and again, I've seen children being unnecessarily traumatized by this. If a child who's not baligh, who's not reached the age of bulugh, and they don't know the difference between them, the right and wrong, they eat something that is haram. Let's say they have a gummy bear or something that has haram gelatin in it. Even if they're eating it, it means that they're taking a bite. Islamically, you're not required to pull it out of their hand or out of their mouth, because they don't know. They're at that age, they're too young. But if they're 8, 9, now they know the difference, they should know, but they don't know this is haram. Then you tell them, oh, this is haram, by the way, then they put it aside. But let's say if 3-year-old, 4-year-old having it in the mouth, and then you put your finger in the mouth to take it out, not required. Islamically, we have a specific, explicit rule on this. Same as when it comes, to certain things, that a child, they don't have that ability. There's no free will for them at that age. So the relationship between fate and free will is that you may say, okay, the decision that I make, Allah knows. So how am I free to make that decision? The knowledge of Allah does not mean He is the one who made the decision for you. The knowledge of Allah about what we go through and the kind of decisions we make is a result of His extensive, beyond our understanding and comprehension of His knowledge. I always give the analogy of a doctor, which is a very unfair comparison. When you show, let's say, somebody's life and somebody's, lifestyle as well as their test, and they look at it, and based on that say, the way they are living their life, they're not going to live more than 2 years. They know, based on the test result or based on whatever. That knowledge that they know what's going on with this person, or they predict that in a month this will happen. God forbid in 6 months their kidney will collapse. This doesn't mean that doctor is doing these things to them. It means his knowledge gives him the ability to know the future or predict it. With not great accuracy, but still somehow. When you talk to a child psychologist, depending on the environment, are they growing up in a broken home, abusive family, exposed to an environment of drug and alcohol? They give you by a good percentage of certainty what will happen in their future. The chances are this is it. It's not the expert's fault that they can predict it. Allah's knowledge is that because of His knowledge, He knows the type of decisions we make is beyond the time, right? We don't know, but Allah knows the time and everything is limited. It's not that He's just written the scenario for us. His knowledge encapsulates all the events, including our free will decision. Like, for example, right now is World Cup in soccer, right? So when somebody shoots a ball, you look at the trajectory of the ball before ball gets to even to score and goal. You know it's going to be a goal. The trajectory. Are you a fortune teller that you know is going to be a goal? That 3 second, 5 second before that you're out jumping in the air, there's going to be a goal, or you see the trajectory of it. You just know but the direction is going the ball. I can see it's going to be goal. With Allah's knowledge, you look at everything, including the time, location, our body, our intentions, everything. And with that, He knows the kind of decisions we're making. Not that He made the decision for us. It's complicated because we think Allah's way of working is like me. I can't. There's so many variables beyond our comprehension. As human beings, when it comes to multiple variables in math, the equations start to get complicated. The more variable you have, the complicated that the equation becomes. Imagine with the free will of a human being, God knows millions of variables are involved. But Allah has that knowledge because He has no limits. That's the connection between free will and between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge of what happens. But there are matters that is out of our control, as I said, like the type of blessings that we are born with. Or sometimes even the type of people come to our lives. These are things sometimes I didn't have any control over. But the moment I chose this person to marry this person, that was my choice. I choose to, in school, not to care, not to study. I choose to, God forbid, do cannabis and play game all the time. These are all my decisions. And I should take the responsibility for them. And for the good decision, we take credit, right? I was the one who participated, I learned, I worked, and that's the reason Allah gave me the result. So, I think I went much over 15 minutes. But I would like to finish it. Is it okay? I've finished it, inshallah. For the last sajda, it seems we recite some additional lines that are not part of the wajib portion of the salah. What are those lines and what do they mean? They're prayers. They come from different sources. Some of them come from du'as, a part of the du'a. Some of them are just general words of showing humility before God. As you said, they're not required, but it's kind of to prolong your sajda, to make it longer. You can repeat the dhikr of sajda, like Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdi, you can repeat it. Or you can add other prayers. For example, I don't know which one you're referring to, what they mean. Ya Kareem, Ya Latif, Irham Abdik al-Da'im is an expression of humility. Ya Kareem means, oh, the generous one. Ya Latif means, oh, the one that you are with the mercy and compassion. Lutf, you're the one that you're bountiful. Irham, have mercy. Abdik al-Da'if, on your weak and flawed servant, referring to yourself. So you're admitting to our weakness before the All-Powerful. Ya Wali al-Afiyah, that's a dua that usually is, Prophet said, ask Allah for well-being. Afiyah is well-being. It's a very holistic well-being, it's not just physical. Ya Wali al-Afiyah, you're the guardian of well-being. As'aluka al-Afiyah, I'm asking you to grant me that holistic, complete form of well-being. Afiyat ad-din wa ad-dunya wal akhirah, the well-being of my faith, religion, the well-being of my dunya, and the well-being of my hereafter. So that's the meaning of the dua. And the other ones also are pretty much asking something from Allah. I don't know which one is it, but I will encourage you to either use Google or ChatGPT to find the meaning. Nowadays, you just say it, and hopefully you get a rough. Don't really, blindly trust it, but it's close enough. I've seen some brothers, they turned it on when there's a different language. Somebody was reciting Urdu Marthia today, and somebody turned it on and they were looking at it. And they were impressed that it was said, okay, 80% was quite accurate. So if it's a sentence that you don't know, first of all, try to find it on Google, if not ChatGPT, at least give you some kind of rough understanding, or you can ask someone with an understanding of the language and try to help you. Okay. Oh, this question, okay, I'm not going to answer all of them. It's getting added to the list. Okay. How can I moderately discipline for kids under 7 without being too strict to prevent them from developing bad habits or inappropriate behaviors? I address that, I think, quite often. Set a good example, control your emotions. You can be firm, but not angry. Why some Molanas, you're going to a very dangerous territory here, so present Mullah Ali alayhi salam personality as proud, even though he was not like that. He was humble. Can you describe briefly his personality for kids? What do we mean by he was not proud? The word proud, I think the word maybe you're referring to is arrogant. Proud, I think, is not always a negative meaning behind it. I'm not sure. I don't know how they describe it, so I cannot be a judge of that. But character of Imam Ali alayhi salam, a great way to describe him, he is a collection of contradictory qualities. Jami'ul Avdad. His quality was not one-dimensional. And it's been said about description of him in the books and in the words of the Ahlul Bayt. Jami' means collection. You gather. Avdad, Avdad is when things are opposite and contradictory. For example, he was the most kind, the most compassionate when it comes to the children, women, orphans, needy people, people who are asking for forgiveness, always. Even when it comes to his personal issues, if somebody would come and personally attack him, abuse him, he was forgiving, merciful. But when it comes to the enemies of those that they wanted to attack Prophet or attack Islam or initiate violence against innocent, karrarun ghayru farrar. He was the one that over and over will come on the enemy and he will not turn back to the enemy. He is merciful, but at the same time, courageous and brave in the right circumstances. He is very flexible when it comes to, as I said, his own personal interests. There are stories that someone who pushed Imam alayhi salam, shoved him, all kind of things they've done to him. Let go. Flexible. But if somebody would, we have that they stole jewelry of a Jewish woman during his rule. He went to the minbar and he was furious with people. He said, if you die, address the men, Muslim men. He said, if you die today, you deserve of death. You're deserving of death. That in the daylight, a woman was robbed and attacked, and you were there and you did nothing to defend her. And she was a Jewish woman, regardless. So it depends. This is a kind of a contradictory, because we think somebody being soft and kind, and that should be always the way. If you're soft and kind, in the middle of the night, a robber is in your house. You can't do that. And your wife and kids are there. I need a different side of myself to defend my family. Oh, why are you here, brother? You should know this. This idea that we need our children to be one way. No, they need to understand all the emotions that Allah gifted. They need to be regulated and they need to be put into use. And Imam alayhi salam, he's proud. You know what he said? Imam, there's a hadith. Imam said, when it comes to the arrogant and the tyrant, You should not be humble with them. With Muawiyah, Imam Ali is not going to be humble because he loves it. He always thinks he's the king. And you go show humility, he's going to even take advantage more. That's why when he wrote a letter to Imam Ali mocking Imam Ali alayhi salam, he mocked him because his title was Abu Turab, the father of dust. He thought that he threw shade at him by calling him all father of dust, meaning that you're not, class or prestigious, modern language I'm using. Imam responded, you're the one talking to me about honor? Just you know about who you are? And reminded him of what Prophet called them. That when Rasulullah called him, Muawiyah, to come, he refused to come. The Prophet sent 3 times someone to call him, and he said, why he's not coming? He said he's eating. And he was known to be known as the father of the stomach, means the one who was very into eating, basically. Not a foodie person. What is the word? Gluttony? That's the right word? Gluttony. He was gluttonous. Right? And then Prophet said, may he never satiate. He said, you're that person. And then reminded him that from my family, I'm from Rasulullah's family, and my wife is Fatima to Zahra. My badge of honor is that Fatima is my family. I'm proud that she is my wife. And look at yourself. Your mother was Hind, the one who ordered to kill Hamza Sayyid al-Shuhada. Your father is Abu Sufyan, to fought to the last moment that he could against Prophet. So sometimes you should know who you're dealing with. But when it comes to the fellow believers, وَبِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. With fellow believers, Ali alayhi salam follows Quran. You're merciful. With fellow believers. With the munafiq or the tyrant, we can't talk, that's one issue we have right now, what's going on with Gaza. All humanity, no, we can't. With the genocider, you can't say, okay, everybody's equal. No, genocide is a genocide. And I can look at them the same equally as my fellow believers sitting next to me. So the short answer is, I don't know about the other munas, what they said, but Imam Ali as-salam's character has all of them. He's multi-dimensional human being. That's why he's such a great character that Christians fall in love with him. Khalil Gibran is a Lebanese Christian poet. George Jordan is a Christian. They authored books about Ali alayhi salam because they read about him, and when they see this character, such an amazing character. He's so kind, he cries when he sees the suffering of others, but in the battle, he does not cry. In battle, he's the one that everybody will rely on. How can you be like this? That you're able to switch mode depending on the time. So I would say if you want to explain to children, depending on what they need, there's qualities that you can share with them. The younger one, yes, again, that they're at that age, you can teach them about the, kindness of Imam Ali and his generosity and his compassion and his knowledge. When they grow older, especially teenagers, they should learn about the bravery, the strength, the courage. These are dimensions that all of us need. Okay? What are some Islamic ways to stop youth exploring internet? They check each and everything in internet, no limits. I don't know about stopping them. One way would be stop paying for Wi-Fi and internet, maybe? I'm joking. You don't want them to stop because our lives now is, if you like it or not, intertwined with this. What you can teach them how to use it. There's nothing that we're running away. Oh, on the internet, there's some stuff that we're scared if they know. No. We should know that we have the truth, and we're not scared of people learning something that is going to expose us. Rather, what we're concerned is that we get misinformation or disinformation. And we should teach our children and our youth that, mashallah, a lot of youth know very well, honestly. Let's be very honest. Sometimes adults, they're being tricked by internet much more often than youth. When somebody sent me an AI generated video and it said Hajjah, the miracle, and I see it as an AI, I never had this chance a youth tell me or send me an AI video mistakenly. There's something about it. They even get it by the way you look at the video. They're able to pick it up. I don't know if in the future it's going to, the quality is going to get better or not. But at this moment, I would say they know. What they don't know is misinformation. For example, they see a guy with a beard on TikTok. Okay, he's a scholar. If he says that, it's right. Or he has, I don't know, this many millions of followers, or this video has this many views, and we associate number, quantity, or titles to be enough. So just knowing that that's not the case, there are people with all kind of views. There are people with the title, quote unquote, doctors, right, on the internet, that they advise people, that the kind of advices they give is against the established practices by doctors, but they have the title doctor. And I've seen there are people who try to challenge them, but it came on my feed that apparently this person who has some kind of title, he was telling people that stop giving your children grapes. Or your nutrition. No, but I have this and that. So an actual MD doctor was challenging him that why you say that? He said that grapes are sugar bombs. And it's the same if you give them Hershey's or grapes. And no, they're not the same. The nutrition that is in a grape and the kind of message you send. So as something as trivial as nutrition, people are all over the place. You think when it comes to hadith and Ahlul Bayt and Quran and tafsir of Quran, just I don't know how many different kind of opinions are out there. And always remember, the one with the most views is not necessarily the one with the best answer. Sometimes the one with the most views is come back because of either is a popular answer, people appreciate it, or it could be for the followers of that school of thought, that madhab, they have more followers, right? That's it. I ask you, among I remember for one speech I looked it up as a statistic, among the most popular videos, channels with most amount of followers, what are the channels that are up there? One of them is a person who, one of the reasons of their popularity is, of course, they create these different games and activities and all that, but he has multiple channels in multiple languages, so his reach is very wide. And among the top one is an actually Indian channel. Why? Because they have population. 1 billion people is on top there. So it's not that, oh, it's the truth, there's the best content, it's because of the language. So when you come to Islam, if you like it or not, there's some school of thought, they have more followers. They have the numbers. It does not necessarily make it to be the right one. So I would say the best way to teach them, it would be to teach them that do not trust every information you get there. Verify. And if you don't know how, ask people who know and they can help you. But always learn from basics. Learn the basics of your faith first before you jump into a question that you want to get the answer. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشاهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء حبيب الله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الهداة المهديين. أما بعد، فقال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان واتقوا الله إن الله شديد العقاب. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our efforts, our prayers, our a'mal, our mourning and aza in the month of Muharram, inshallah. And may Allah resurrect us with Muhammad and Ali Muhammad in the day of judgment with the salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. So last night we talked about the plan of Allah for humanity is to create a community, to create righteous communities, and not to encourage separation, isolation, or excessive individualism. The point is that these individuals who are spending time to become better people, eventually they want to come and interact with other people and create a community. The first is that you're in your own family, and then you start your own family, you get married, and then at the same time you're part of a community, a religious community. And for that reason, we should know what's the plan of Allah for what kind of community we should be striving to become. And we talked about Islam, how it transformed society and environment that Rasulullah started the message with, as well as all the religions of God. Their intention was to bring people together, not to further divide them. And I answered that absurd accusation that religion divides people. Because when you have people, even religious people, unfortunately, if you like it or not, when somebody have faith, they bring a baggage with them to the faith. Right? Let's say if I'm a religious person, what I mean by religious, first of all, right? The definition of religious could be very different. To some people, religious is, I have a Muslim name, I was born a Muslim, and that's it. I love God in my heart, that's the extent of my religiosity. For some people, someone else says, I wear hijab. That's what my Islam is. For someone else says, is that, is about symbolism, right? That I start my day with Ayatul Kursi, I give sadaqah, then I go work in a military industry complex that they're attacking other Muslims using that. But I say Ayatul Kursi as I enter that business. I'm religious. The list is a long list. What do you mean by religious? So someone comes to become religious, and unfortunately they have racism with them. They bring the baggage that they have as racism, bigotry, with them. They're religious, but they're racist, unfortunately. They're not truly religious because if they learn Islam, they understand Islam has no tolerance for racism. But that does not mean everyone who became religious, they changed. An example of that was in Prophet's time, that people, companions of the Prophet, questioned his decisions because they were racist. At least racist by the definition of the time, because they thought Arabs are superior than non-Arabs. Remember that even a Sayyid, a relative, Imam Ali alayhi salam's time, we have that Imam was distributing the public fund, Baytul Mal. Everybody was getting to get their share. So Imam Ali alayhi salam's relative, which is from Bani Hashim, she came, she got her share. And she noticed that another woman, which she used to be a slave, a non-Arab, but she became Muslim, she got the same share. And when they talked to each other, the master and the servant, they got the same share. The Arab from Bani Hashim, Sayyidah, and this woman who's coming from a non-Arab background, they got the same share. So she went back to Imam Ali alayhi salam complaining. How is that fair? This is who I am, this is who my family is, this woman just became Muslim and all that. And then the answer of Imam alayhi salam, I'm paraphrasing, was that I did not see anywhere in the Quran or in the teaching of the Prophet that Arab should have a more share than non-Arab. But it means even that person which come from the family still have that notion built in. Today, unfortunately, you go across the world, including Muslim Ummah, UAE, Bahrain, or even if you go to other countries, Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, there is a sense, what is it, the word light racism. It's not that, okay, we always assume racism is going to be against the black. No, there are other forms of racism. Oh, we don't like them, they're Punjabi. Oh, they're from Sindh. They're Pathan. Whatever nonsense that we don't add. And we think somehow they're better or I'm better. One is that you acknowledge your roots, that's fine. Be proud. My roots is this, my roots, great. But to say I'm this and they're not that and they're lower than me, the supremacy that you're superior to someone else's has come from shaitan. The first supremacist of all was shaitan. When he said, خَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ طِينٍ وَخَلَقْتَنِي مِنْ نَارٍ. You created Adam from clay, you created me from fire. I am better. So going back to this notion that religious people unfortunately bring baggages with them. Nationalism, racism, ageism. Even sometimes is a religious person who really care too much about classes. In Hinduism, for example, they have castes, right? There are different classes. In Islam, we don't have that. But there are Muslims who really, really double down on that. We only hang out with the people in our level. What is your level? Educated people. Right? In our family, everybody have a master or PhD. MashaAllah. So you have a class now. You have choice to socialize with the people you want, but if you consider yourself superior to others because of your education, then you fall to the same trap. You're not a superior person. You're more knowledgeable in that field, and that's it. That's all you are. You're wealthier, that's it, but it does not make you a better person or superior person. We're not communism that everybody's alike, get the wealth from the wealthy. No, we're not doing communism. Islam is against it. Wealthy is wealthy, okay. We don't vilify people who have wealth. But to know that if you're wealth, it means that you can somehow be the one in charge? No. This should be based on merits. Even if the one who has the merits doesn't have the wealth, doesn't matter. They should get the priority. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan for the believer is to build a community and know that unfortunately, when you build a community, there's going to be issues. But these issues are not coming from religion, as I said. Religion does not divide people. A religious person with racism, it may cause division. Muslim, Christian, doesn't matter. Bring a racist, put any religion on them, they still will be racist. Right? There's an analogy, you say if you look at the horse, you can't change the saddles of the horse, the different color and all that, but the horse is still a horse. Religion is a way of life. When you believe in religion, you say this is how I'm supposed to live. But does that mean that people live according to it? That's their decision. Muharram especially is a great reminder that Muslims, at least those who were saying their Shahada, they were the one who killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Not Christians, not non-Muslims, Muslims, quote unquote. What kind of Islam was that? So what qualities that community must have? Imam Sadiq, yesterday I mentioned the hadith that Imam alayhi salam said, you call yourself a Shia, community of Shia, and Imam said, what kind of community you have? And Imam said, is the wealthy look after the poor? What kind of community you have? So the first important quality for a community, and the ayah I recited also is another indication for that. وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. Cooperate, Allah says. Ta'awanu is to help one another, cooperate, collaborate. عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. To do good, righteousness, and taqwa, piety. help one another for good. Whatever good cause is there, ta'awanu. It doesn't matter if it's this masjid, that masjid, Urdu speaking, English speaking, Chinese speaking, it doesn't matter. We're doing good, we join forces. Ta'awanu ala al-birri wa taqwa. وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Do not cooperate when it comes to doing wrong. When it comes to animosity, when it comes to sin. Do not help one another. Even if it's your family member, even if it's your community. If they're doing wrong, because we see there's a fight, somebody is arguing, is my family, without asking a question, I'm jumping in the middle of it. Do you know who's, no, I have to help, I have to cooperate, I have to support. Allah said, yes, support. But every support should not just be blinding, you jump into a problem and make it exacerbate the problem. Ta'awanu ala al-birri wa taqwa. A community that help one another, care for one another, support one another for a good cause. We're not a cult, we're not a gang. Because in a cult and gang say, oh, that means you want to go a gang or a cult. You don't care about the objective in gangs. Whatever the gangs expect you to do, and by the way, I was not part of any gangs, based on the understanding of what we know about the gang culture in the reading that I read. Is that what it is? They have an objective, right? That this is what we're supposed to do. This is our turf, our territory. We don't care how. Cult, the same thing. This is what we want, this is our objective, we don't care how. Islam is not about that. You help one another, you support one another to do birri wa taqwa. And we're supposed to accomplish something good out of it. And then secondly, a community that we are trying to build that have to be helping one another, supporting one another, is a community that they fulfill each other's right. They have haqq on each other. When I come to a community, I know that this is not a stranger sitting next to me. This is a fellow human being, a fellow believer that has a right on me. Islam says your neighbor, the one that geographically end up living next to you, geographically has right on you. Now you live next to your neighbor, you have responsibilities. So Rasulullah emphasized so much on the rights of neighbor, not Muslim neighbor, period. They have rights. Among the rights that they have, you should not be the cause of disturbance for them. And you should be lenient with them if they make a mistake. Imam Hassan alayhi salam had a non-Muslim neighbor, Imam Hassan alayhi salam. And we have that he had some issue in his house, that there was some kind of bad smell and all that start getting into Imam alayhi salam's house. Into the wall, they had a shared wall with Imam alayhi salam. And his bath or whatever it was, it started leaking into Imam's house. And it was a while, and Imam did not say a word. Until one day, the wife of the neighbor, which she is not a Muslim, she comes to ask for something, to borrow something, and she notices that there is a leak coming from their house. And then she talks to her husband and said, do you know that our house, we have a problem, and now this is what done to their house? So he goes to Imam Hassan alayhi salam apologetically. So sorry, why you didn't tell me? And Imam alayhi salam said, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. I was planning to look after it, don't worry about it. This is the kind of akhlaq they had with their neighbors. We look for excuses. I'm not talking about human beings. Oh, this male of you came to my side, this leaf came. So people have rights on one another, even neighbors. Imagine when I come and sit at the masjid right now, at the Imam Barga, we have no rights on each other? It's absurd that I assume that. Fellow believers have responsibilities. What are those responsibilities? I list them, inshallah, I wrap up. I don't want to take too much of your time. Risala salawat. Again, narrated from our sixth Imam alayhi salam. On the rights of believers, there's a lot of different hadiths, some more elaborate, some more precise and brief. This is somewhere, I would say, in a brief side. Imam alayhi salam said, what are the haqq, what are the rights of believers on one another? Community, they have rights on one another. أيسر حق منها أن تحب له ما تحب لنفسك وتكره له ما تكره لنفسك. The least, the easiest right of a community member, a mu'min on another, is to love for him what you love for yourself. And to dislike for him what you dislike for yourself. That's the least. That's the bare minimum. I like when I come to a center, I don't like when people ignore me. I don't like when people don't say salam to me. I don't like people who don't make room for me. So I don't do that to anyone else. I love when people make me feel welcome, they're warm. So I will love that for them. I dislike if somebody goes and talk to my child and try to be too tough with them because they were running around or they laughed or something. I will not do that to any other child either. Right? The list goes on. أن تجتنب سخطه وتتبع مرضاته وتطيع أمره. The right of a Muslim is that you avoid hurting him, making him upset. Don't go out of your way for no reason to just annoy people. Sometimes community member Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahy Anil Munkar is very good. It's wajib. But some of the things that we try to do as communities, we are referring to people collected with myself. We are too idealists. We try to advise people to do things when they're doing already the wajib part. But we want them to do better. I know we have good intentions. But it start, overwhelming people. Imagine they did their wudu and everything is fine. Great job, mashallah. But if you do this as well, on top of that. Oh, you prayed? Why didn't say adhan and iqamah? Right? They're standing in line. Why this happened? Why that? There's always a comment. And there's not Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahy Anil Munkar. Amr bil Ma'ruf is that is if they're not doing an ma'ruf, an obligation, then you have to tell them to do it. Right? So if people are just standing outside not praying, and I know this person is not going to pray later. If they do pray later, there's no need. But if I know they're not, they're my family, my brother, my cousin, I know them. So I privately put them aside. Okay, brother, it's great that you come to us in Majlis, but do your prayer. It's wajib. That's Amr Ma'ruf. But to come to extra mustahabbat, sometimes we do it too much. Imam Salam said, don't do something that you unnecessarily upset or disturb someone. And tu'inahu binafsik. The third one is to support him with your nafs, means if you can do help yourself. Help him. Move something around, give him a cup of water, whatever that is that you can do yourself. Wa malik. Help him with your wealth if you can. Sometimes people need financial help, loans. وَلِسَانِكْ وَيَدِكْ وَرِجْلِكْ. With your hand, with your tongue. In any way, try to be supportive. And then Imam alayhi salam said, أَن تَكُونَ عَيْنَهُ وَدَلِيلَهُ وَمِرْآتَهُ. Number 4. For a community, be his eye. Be his guide and his mirror. You know what we say? You snooze, you lose. No, you're not. You snooze, I'm your eye. I'm going to watch for you. I'm going to help you. I'm your mirror, meaning that if I see something hurting you, like a mirror showing you something, there's a smudge on your face, you look at the mirror, it shows you, you reflect them, how they can better themselves. But like a mirror does not do more than what it's supposed to do. A normal mirror, I'm not talking about the one that are curved, it shows what it is, right? Some of us, we're a curved mirror. If somebody has a normal face, we show a big nose, right? They have an issue, but we make a big deal out of that issue. Now, be like a mirror. Even if you're critical, be fair. If you want to do constructive criticism, do it like a mirror. A mirror usually is very subtle. A mirror is exactly showing what it is, and it's not doing too much, it's just showing you. أن يكون لك خادم وليس لأخيك خادم فواجب أن تبعث خادمك. So it goes about the service that you do. It is important to prioritize serving them and لا تشبع ويجوع. Do not satisfy your hunger when your fellow believers is hungry, remains hungry. Do not quench your thirst while he remains thirsty. Do not clothe yourself while you remain without clothing. Meaning that you care to that extent. And then the other riwayah we have that you do not gossip, you do not backbite. And then if they're absent and somebody else tried to do backbiting, you defend them. That's the kind of community, is a community I promise you, is the kind of community anyone wants to be part of. We want to be part of that kind of community. But a community that is the other way around, which by the way, God knows that sometimes I look at it and said, Ya Allah, how far I am from these teachings, that we exactly do opposite of every one of them. Opposite. We go out of our way to sometimes disturb people. We go out of our way sometimes to find an issue. Did you see him? Did you see? What did he do? He blocked me. That's a ghaibah, by the way. That's a gossip. Have you seen what he done? Do you know what did he wear? And I think I'm doing something good. And when you look at about the companions of Imam al-Hussein, this is a kind of community they created. That's why a lot of them left before. They were not worthy material of that companionship. Those who remained, when you look at them, you don't see any of these petty things. You don't see Habib ibn al-Madahir or Ibn Wahab or all of these companions engaging in these kind of trivial things. You see, every sentence they say, there's some kind of wisdom coming from it. Even their jokes, even the humor they have. And I finish with this tradition that we have, that when someone obeys Allah as consistent, then what they say, it becomes what Allah wants them to say, without even putting efforts. Their words becomes the word that Allah wants them. Their action, their eyes, everything becomes the service of Allah. And the one who disobey Allah, then their words become at the service of shaitan. Their words become shaitani. Their eyes become shaitani. Because now they align themselves with shaitan. They smell like him. They act like him. They resemble him. A community whose priority is to follow the plan of Allah for themselves, they become a godly community. The color of them become a godly color. The fragrance become a godly fragrance. And everybody wants to be part of it. Every mu'min would enjoy it. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala empower our communities, that we fulfill one another's right, that we are helpful, caring for one another, that we protect one another's integrity, honor, reputation. And at the time of need, we are there for each other, inshaAllah, with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. On this last night, let's say inshaAllah a short salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to convey the salam from here to the grave of Imam al-Hussein, to the grave of Abu Fadl Abbas alayhim as-salam, and to the grave of the Shuhada and the martyrs of Karbala, inshaAllah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Tonight I'm going to recite a musibah of the daughter of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. I've noticed that in some cultures they refer to her as Sakina. In other cultures, among the Arabs and other cultures, they refer to her as Ruqayya. And the reason for that is that these are not their actual name. The actual name was Fatima. The daughters of Imam Hussein, she multiple daughters, he named them Fatima. The same way he had multiple sons and he named them Ali. But he had nicknames for them, words of endearment. Sukaina or Sakina means the one that is a tranquility for the heart of her father. Ruqayya means the one who brings that gentleness, the one who is gentle. So these are nicknames for them. This daughter of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, few years old. The history says, some sources said 3, 4, 5 years old. She was among the captives. But it was the great work of Zainab that she protected her, that she didn't know much what happened. And imagine a 3 or 5-year-old, how much they can know from a tragedy like Karbala. But it became more difficult as the journey continued to hide things from her, to protect her, to shield her. Especially when the head of the martyrs were on spears before them. And it went by until they arrived in Kufa. Kufa people cried. I recite the musibah today. People of Kufa, or last night I think I recited the musibah. The people of Kufa were regretful because they know what they've done, their betrayal. And they knew Ali and they knew Hussein and they knew Zainab alayha salam because they lived in Kufa. But in Sham is a different story. This is the city of propaganda. This is the city when Ali alayhi salam was martyred, people of Sham said, where was he killed? And when they said Ali was martyred in a masjid, he was praying. While he was praying, some of the people of Sham said, why Ali was at the masjid? What was he praying? He doesn't pray. What we know about him, he's not a type of person that will pray. This is a kind of propaganda. And that's why when they entered Sham, there was a celebration. They asked Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, among the most difficult calamities and hardship for you was which part of this day? They referred to Karbala and Ashura. And Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, 3 times he said, Asham, Asham, Asham. Karbala aside, what our family endured in Sham. They celebrated, they gloated, they mocked, they ridiculed, they danced, they clapped, they decorated the city, and they were calling the family of Rasulullah Khariji, meaning the one who left Islam. The followers of Bani Umayyah and Bani Sufyan, Abu Sufyan, are calling Rasulullah's family Khariji. How upside down, how backward dunya is. We see it even today in the calamities befalling upon the innocent, that the tyrants, war criminals are calling themselves freedom fighters. The war criminals of our time, the occupiers, colonizers calling themselves those who give freedom. This is not the first time dunya saw such absurdity. And in Sham, one of the verbal abuse they were keep shouting to the daughters, to the orphans, was that you are yatim, you are orphan. And Ruqayya, this daughter of Imam al-Hussein, was told that your father is on a journey. So she would keep answering that I'm not an orphan. I have a father. I have the most beautiful of fathers. And they came to the Majlis of Sharab. They entered them to the courtyard of Yazid. We have one of the ulama said that when a dhakir was reciting Musibah, he just recited this sentence. فَدَخَلَ زَيْنَبْ بِنْتُ عَلِيٍّ فِي مَجْلِسِ الشَّرَابِ. Daughter of Ali, Zainab was entered to the gathering of wine drinkers among the stranger men. And the alim said, that's enough. If we cry for a long time just for this musibah, that granddaughter of Rasulullah was forced to enter such a gathering with such a vile creatures, with such people with no shame and no faith, that should be enough of musibah and recitation. And after that, they brought them to the ruins of Sham. And in the ruins of Sham, in the middle of the night, Ruqayya woke up from her sleep. And Allah knows what she saw in her dreams. Maybe she saw her father in her dreams. So she started calling. Those of you who have children, you know that when sometimes a child wakes up from a nightmares, you try to calm them down, it takes a while. So we have that Zainab alayhi salam came, and Ruqayya, this daughter of Imam al-Hussein, is keep calling, my aunt, tell me, where is my father? You told me he's on a journey, it's been such a long time, but I've been over and over looking forward every single day and night. When I see him, will come to hug me and embrace me. Tell me when my father will come, where is he? Tell me the truth. And we have when the name of Hussein was mentioned, all these women and children, they start crying with Ruqayya, as if she is the one reciting Musibah. All the pain is still returning to the hearts of these women and children. They did not get the chance to mourn properly in Karbala. Forcefully, they were pushed away. They were separated from the bodies of their loved one. And now in the ruins of Sham, after a long journey, they got a chance to cry, to lament, to grieve and weep. And suddenly the ruins of Sham is filled with the cry of women and children. Yazid, may Allah remove His mercy from him, woke up and said, what's going on? Tell me what's happening. And a soldier went and returned that, there are some children, there's some orphans who are asking for their father. And we have that he said, take the head of Hussein to him and let them see him, and then let me asleep. Tell them to be quiet. So they put the head of Abu Abdullah on a plate and they covered it. And they brought it to the ruins of Sham, and they found out that Ruqayya, this girl, was looking for her father. So we have that where is the girl who was looking for her father? And we have that Zainab said, leave her alone. Leave her alone, this child cannot endure this. They pushed away Zainab and they brought the plate and put it in front of her. And the first thing she said was, oh my dear aunt, I'm not hungry. I don't want food. I want my father. And we have that she was told, remove the cover, what you're looking for, what you've been waiting for is here. And she removed the cover and saw the head of her father. Unimaginable. I cannot fathom what went through the heart of this girl when she saw the head of her father. So she picked up the head on her lap and she said, Man alladhi aytamani fi sighari sinni. Who made me an orphan? Who made me a yatim? My father Hussein, tell me who have done this to you. Why your face is covered in blood? Why your beard is covered in blood? Why there are ashes in your hairs, my father? And she is talking to her father. Maybe you can imagine a child, what she would be saying. Probably she said, my father Hussein, after you left us, after you said goodbye to us, you were not there when they burned the tents and they attacked us. They stole everything away from us. I remember that they came and they attacked my aunt Zainab and she put her body between the webs of me. And look at my feet, the blisters on my feet, my father. And she is talking to the head of her father, and after a while she was quiet, she was silent. And Zainab is waiting for the right time. She fought her way to get to the body of Ruqayya. This lifeless body, this girl is now joined her father in Jannah. We have that they buried the body of Ruqayya in the ruins of Sham. And we have that when Zainab returned to Karbala, when she get to the grave of her brother Hussein, she said, my dear brother, I listened to everything you said. I fulfilled every promise I made. I made sure I was patient. I made sure to protect the orphans and the women. But I have one thing, my brother. Please do not ask about your daughter Ruqayya. Where is she? وَلَا لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Ya Allah, we ask you, by the honor of Shuhada Karbala, by the Isarat, the captivity of the family of Abu Abdullah, hasten return of Imam over time, Imam Sahib al-Asr al-Zaman. Ya Allah, we ask you, we participate in these majalis and in this month of Muharram. Make these efforts to be, inshallah, a nur, a light, inshallah, a saving for us in the day of judgment. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make these majalis and participation in this majalis to be a source of blessing and barakah for our lives, inshallah. And we ask Allah to grant all the marid, all those who are ill, all those who are facing hardships and calamities. May Allah grant them strength of iman. May Allah grant them sabr and patience, and may Allah grant them speedy recovery, shifa and healing. And we ask Allah to bless the soul of all of our marhumin, all the mu'mineen and mu'minat, especially remember Sayyida Muhsina Khatun bint Sayyid Zahid Hussein Rizvi, and they also said Tanveer Fatima Mirza, daughter of Sayyid Muhammad Ali Tabatabai, and all the other marhumin. Remember them, inshallah. Your own marhumin, the marhumin of those, again, who sponsored the majalis, the volunteers and organizers, with Surah Fatiha and Salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
हाय बाज़े शाम मेरे बके सीमा. Wait, can I so bad. हाय बाज़ार शाम मेरे बके सीमा. हाय बाज़ार शाम मेरा बके सीमा. एक यही बात सजा देखो खा गई. एक यही बात देखो खा गई. सरकुले हाय ज़ैनब कहाँ आ गई. हाय बाज़ार शाम मेरे बेकसीमा. हाय बाज़ार शाम मेरे बेकसीमा. तोका के बोझ से सर नहीं ताजुका. तोका के बोझ से सर नहीं ताजुका. वजह शर्मिंदगी एक यही दर्द था. वजह शर्मिंदगी एक यही दर्द था. वजह शर्मिंदगी एक यही दर्द था. मजमा अश्किया में पुपी आ गई. हाय बाज़ार शाम मेरा बेकसीमा. हाय बाज़ार शाम मेरा बेकसीमा. तप रहा था बदन और जंजीर भी, तप रहा था बदन और जंजीर भी, बेरे दामा पुपी और हमशीर भी, बेरे दामा पुपी, बेरे दामा पुपी और हमशीर भी, सोचते थे न क्यों कर कज़ा आ गई।